Hello everyone, this is Susanna from Hold It Right There Sewing Patterns. Welcome back to my video tutorial series for my sewing pattern, the Zuma Sling. To make the Zuma Sling, you will need to purchase the sewing pattern available on my website, linked below. In this video, I will walk you through the instructions for making the lining front and back. So grab your sewing pattern and follow along with me now, beginning on page 7, step 26. Locate zipper pocket facing lining F and turn wrong side up. Draw horizontal lines 1 inch from the top and from the bottom. Now draw vertical lines 1 inch from the left and right sides. The resulting center rectangle measures 1/2 inch by 6.5 inches, and this is the stitching guide for the zipper pocket window. Locate lining front and back A and place right side up. Mark the top and bottom centers on both of your lining pieces. Designate one lining A piece as the front and set it aside for now. On the right side of the remaining lining back A, measure 3.5 inches from the top and mark the left and the right sides. We will use these markings in a moment for lining up the zipper pocket facing. Align the bottom edge of zipper pocket facing lining F at the place marked 3.5 inches below the top edge of the lining back A. Then pin or clip in place. Sew around the 1/2 inch by 6.5 inch rectangle through all the layers. For a really nice rectangular zipper window, I'm going to give you a little tip that I found along the way, and I only sew along the long horizontal edges. So I'm going to skip sewing the short 1/2 inch vertical edges of the rectangle. To do so, I make sure to backstitch several times at the beginning and the end, since there will be no vertical stitching at all. Then I repeat sewing on the other 6.5 inch line, backstitching at the beginning, sewing along the line, and then backstitching at the end. We're ready now to move on to step 28. Cut across the center of the stitch rectangle through all layers of fabric and interfacing, stopping about 1/2 inch from both the left and the right ends. Cut out Y-shaped or angled corners, but just be careful not to cut through the stitching. Push the facing from the right side of the lining panel through the opening, then carefully press until the rectangular zipper window opening is flat. For ease of construction, lining slip pocket H will be added next before we add the zipper pocket lining. Locate lining slip pocket H and place right sides together. Pin or clip along the top and the bottom edges. Sew using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Turn right side out through the side openings and then press. Place the interfaced side of H up and then top stitch 1/8 inch from the top finished edge. Place the top edge of lining slip pocket H at the markings 3.5 inches below the top edge of lining back A. And again, the interfaced side of H will be facing up. Pin or clip at the side edges. Sew along the side and bottom edges of H using an 1/8 inch seam allowance. Here's a view of my lining slip pocket after I've sewn it. Locate the prepared 8.5 inch zipper and zipper pocket lining G pieces. Place one of the G pieces right side up. Pin or clip the zipper right side up along the top edge of G. Be sure that the zipper pull is on the left. Sew using a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Pin or clip the opposite side of the zipper along the top edge of the remaining G piece. Be sure the zipper pull is on the right this time. Sew using a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I've pressed the zipper pocket pieces away from the zipper. Place the G pieces wrong side up so that you see the right side of the zipper. Extend the pockets above and below the zipper, just as I am and just as it shows you in your pattern instructions. Be sure the zipper pull is on the left. And we're going to keep the pockets oriented just like this for the next step. Working from the right side of lining back A, center the zipper window over the zipper. Be sure the zipper pull is on the left. The zipper pockets extend above and below the zipper, just as you had them in the previous step 32. It can be helpful to apply double-sided tape above and below the zipper teeth to secure the zipper for this step. Keeping the zipper pockets out of the way, sew all the way around the zipper window with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. I've set my stitch length to 3.5 to 4, and I'm going to begin with a few back stitches to lock my stitching in place. I keep my needle in a down position and pivot to sew around the rectangle. I'm about 1/8 of an inch from the rectangle window. To maneuver around the zipper pull, keep the needle in a down position and then open or close the zipper pull as needed. Finish with a few back stitches and then your zipper pocket is sewn into the zipper window. Pin or clip the sides of the pocket together. The bottom edges will be uneven. Move the lining back A out of the way and sew the pocket sides using a 5/8 inch seam allowance. Sew the opposite side of the pocket in the same way. Trim the seam allowances close to the stitching. I'm using my fabric scissors to cut through the fabric, and then to prevent my fabric scissors from getting damaged, I'm using old scissors to cut through the zipper teeth. Next, trim the bottom of the pocket so that the two pieces of the pocket match evenly. Sew the bottom edge of the pocket using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Once you're done sewing the bottom edge of the pocket, the lining back A is finished and you can set it aside for now. Locate the 8 eye wing pieces. Right sides together, pin or clip one eye piece with interfacing to one mirror image eye piece without interfacing. Using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, sew along the short sides and the long slanted side. Do not sew along the long straight side. Trim the seam allowances close to the stitching, but do not trim the long straight edge. Turn right side out through the opening and press. If you haven't already done so, repeat steps 36 and 37 with the remaining 3 sets of eye wing pieces. Locate the lining front and back A. Place right side up 2 inches from the bottom edge. Mark the left and right sides on both lining A pieces. Pin or clip the raw edge of one prepared wing at the 2 inch marking on the lining A piece. Be sure the uninterfaced eye side is toward the lining A and the wider edge of eye is at the top. Repeat with the remaining 3 prepared wings. Sew using an 1/8 inch seam allowance, then set aside the lining front and back for now. You will now need the exterior back A. I have folded the webbing out of the way, and I'm using a rubber band to hold the webbing in place. This will just prevent it from getting caught in the stitches as we're assembling the Zuma Sling. Pin or clip the lining back A, wrong side together, to the exterior back A. Baste the layers together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Then set this aside for now. You will now need the exterior front and the lining front. Pin or clip the lining front A, wrong sides together, to the exterior front A. Baste the layers together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance and then set aside the front panel for now. You may need to move the zipper pull out of the way to sew along the zipper side of the front panel. The lining front and back are complete and joined to the exterior front and back, and this concludes video 4 in the series. Join me for our final video, video 5, as we create the gussets and the binding. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing.